Happy Friday. We had a nice little winner yesterday with Baltimore, only the one bet on the card, put us in the green.
Though.
Yeah, absolutely swept job. Made us earn that one. Thought Batista was going to screw us twice in 1 week, but held on, got the win there. Small card yesterday, only the one bet. Big card today, a lot going on NFL-wise also this weekend. You guys know we don't bet preseason. We don't touch on it, but I believe it's 6 games today, 6 games tomorrow. So for those of you guys betting preseason football, wish you guys the best of luck. Few weeks away from that season. John, a lot of fun matchups going on. Wild card race is getting tight. We have a lot to get to here on this card. Don't know if you have anything you want to add on about yesterday's game.
Yeah, just another sweat job from the Orioles.
Yeah.
Look, this guy was pitching ridiculous. He was the best closer in the game up until blowing that 3-run lead for us the first night, and then almost giving it away. This is baseball. We talk about it, guys. 162 games. You're not going to go unhittable for the whole 162. That's when we talk about streaks like he had prior to giving up the 3 runs to the Astros and blowing the 6-3 lead. It was 14 straight appearances. He hadn't given up a run. 7 hits over 14 appearances. He was basically what we call lights out. Similar with Snell. We'll talk a little bit about him today. He's had an 0.57 ERA last month. Touched up a little bit. His worst outing, if you want to call it his worst outing, and again, was against the Dodgers. So there's going to be that natural regression. You're not going to pitch to his 0.00 ERA. No. You're not going to go all season without blowing a save. This is what happens in baseball. The other games we will talk about, we told you the shops were all over the Pirates. They were all big numbers yesterday. They were all worth to take. So yeah, the Pirates got the money at home. And then what we had a little bit of an upset with the Cardinals, with the dead team. We thought Tampa Bay was turning it around. St. Louis goes in there and wins 2 out of the 3, the last 2. And then you had the Rockies making it interesting. I was sweating it out. I'm like, man, if they win, I'm going to be sick, because that was the thing we should have thrown at least a unit on, even if it was a half unit, just a little something. But Kershaw comes back. Here's another guy. Ben told you guys yesterday, different with these veterans. Them coming back off the IL, they've been there before, they've done it. He knows when he's ready. He pitched some instead of doing a rehab, he pitched some simulated games. He was ready last night, and I thought the fucking Rockies kid hit, but he held them in check, gave up 1 run. But the kid Blotch did a good job for the Rockies, held the Dodgers in trouble. That's why we're gonna like the Rockies today. We'll talk about that game in a minute. But so you had the Pirates, you had the Cards, the rest of the dogs. Made it interesting. We were looking at the Nationals. We were looking at the Rockies. Just didn't pull the trigger. Had leads in both of them. Our early lead 1-0 in both of those games, but they both fell to the favorites. So we don't just pick every dog. We pick the dogs we feel strong about. And we got one today. We're looking at a few more. Let's get started, Ben.
Yeah, first game on this card is Reds at Pittsburgh. The Cincinnati team struggling right now. They're currently half game back in that wild card situation. And then as far as in the division, 2.5 of Milwaukee, and Pirates is a dead team, but they're playing good. They split that 4-game series with Atlanta. Reds have dropped 8-9, and Pirates own this matchup. 12 of the last 14 meetings, 7 straight in Pittsburgh. Abbott versus Oviedo. Abbott, just after a tremendous start to his career, at some point it had to slow down, and it definitely did the last 2. Gave up 10 runs in 9 innings, 8 Ks, 8 walks. Granted, one of those was against a red-hot Cubs offense. Maybe take that with a bit of a grain of salt. And Oviedo, he's been terrific. 3 straight quality starts, 0.90 ERA, coming off 7 shutout innings versus Milwaukee. He gets the pitching edge. He's just going better right now. Abbott, obviously, what he was doing beforehand, definitely capable of giving you a good outing tonight. The ownership, you have a Reds cold team versus a Pirates team whose offense is playing well. They're coming off splitting 4 with Atlanta. Maybe there's a little bit of a letdown factor after taking some from the best team in the season, best team in baseball this season. But either way, this is Pirates or nobody.
Pirates or nobody. The shops have already buried this on the overnight line. This game opened Cincy minus 135. By this morning, it was already a pick'em game. We didn't even have a shot to get on this one. It's Pirates or nobody. Reds ice cold. Pirates own the matchup. Oviedo pitching lights out. Abbott seeing his first real failures back-to-back in his career, his major league career. How's he going to go with adversity now? How's he going to deal with adversity? Only thing that we're looking at here, is there a little letdown after a 4-game split with the Braves? Do you get does anybody sit out today? But the line has moved drastically to the Pirates. We agree with that 100%, to the point that, okay, the line now is the right line. At this point, we may as well wait. We missed the cherry numbers. Let's see if the Pirates are playing anybody, they pulling anybody. But it's Pirates or nobody, and an ice-cold Cincy team that lost their bats and everything. Blew the last 2 games for us in the Marlins series in late games. So, yeah, Pirates or nobody.
And it's Braves at Mets. Braves coming off that split with Pittsburgh. They're 2-4 their last 6, still scoring over 6 runs per game, still hitting .314 this week. Can't cool off that offense. And then this Mets team playing decent on the homestand. They stopped the red hot Cubbies. They win 2 of 3 there. Still 2-7 their last 9, but 8-3 their last 11 at home and playing good baseball in New York. Morton versus McGill. Morton, he was on a tear to start July, and ever since 0-4, 7.32 ERA his last 4 starts. Crushed last time out for 5 runs. Bad numbers against the Mets as well. 2 starts so far this season. Give up 9 runs in 10 innings. Last year at a 4.98 ERA versus them. McGill, he made his first start since June. He was roughed up for 5 runs by the Orioles. But earlier this season, really good at home. 4-1, 2.79. This is just a Braves team by name right now. The offense still doing what they're doing. The pitching hasn't been giving them as much. Started to see that with Elder falling off a little bit, Morton falling off a little bit. Strider still getting his strikeouts, but he's not having dominant performances. Pitching hasn't been doing as much what they're supposed to for Atlanta. A Mets team that's kind of dead, but this is a series they should be getting up for. A team who knocked them out last year. Obviously, a lot of history between these 2 teams. Home dog or nothing here with the Mets.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. Getting back to that, the Braves, talking about that pitching starting to slide off. After Fried came back his first game and shut out the hottest hitting team at that time, who was the Cubs, shut them out in his first 6 innings. I said, well, okay, that's it. Call the season and just hand the Braves the World Series, because you've now put in Fried with Strider, with Elder, with Morton, and that's a lights out staff, and you've got the best, or arguably the best, Texas hitting team in the league. Well, what's happened since then? Elder gets banged for his 3rd time in 5 games. Fried gets hit harder by the Pirates in his last outing than the Cubs, who were putting 8 on the board every day. So Strider, like he says, it's exactly what Ben said. Yeah, he's striking everybody out. Still a 3.5 or so ERA, and at home, even higher. So little kick in the armor there. Now here comes Morton, really struggling right now. Still going to give him a little bit of a pitching edge, but look at what the Braves are doing since the All-Star break. Just 12-12. Yeah, they have those games where they assault the pitcher, and it's an 8-0 start. And I know you guys hate when we're betting against the Braves, but this just might be a spot, as Ben said. You've got a Met team that looked like they were dead. They take 2 out of 3 from the Cubs, who we thought would go in there and do some damage. We took an L on the last night of that series. Again, this is a team that ruined not only last year for the Mets, but ruined this year as far as I'm concerned. Mets led 99% of the year last year. Braves catch them down the stretch. Mets get knocked out in a wild card, never recovered this year. This is a game they just may get up for. As a big home dog, it's Mets or nobody.
And then we have a nice NL West matchup. Padres at Arizona. Padres coming off a loss against Seattle. They've lost 4 straight, scoring just 2.5 runs per game. D-backs lost 8 straight, scoring 1.8 runs per game. 2 teams not winning, not hitting, not scoring. And really, D-backs, Arizona, Miami, Arizona, Cincy, and Miami, just teams that are in this wild card race that don't seem to want it. We'll see what this series does. Snell versus Nelson. Snell has to have the pitching edge, leads MLB in ERA. Last time out, though, 3 runs in 5 innings, 8 Ks, 4 walks. Does lead the league in walks as well. Part of that problem is the pitch count. Saw the MLB Network put up a graphic yesterday of all the NL pitchers in the Cy Young race. You know, so I'll pull it up here. Logan Webb, he has 9 starts of going 7 innings, allowing 2 runs or less. Gallen has 8 starts, going 7 innings, 2 runs or less. Snell, 1 start of making it 7 innings or 2 runs or less. You know, he's having good outings, just not going deep into games. Meanwhile, Nelson, just horrible at home, 8.01 ERA. Teams hitting 356 in 10 starts. Can't back that. 2 cold teams don't want anything to do with it. Would be a slightest of leads to the home dog in Arizona here, but they're ice cold right now. I can't put my money on them.
They're ice cold. I want no part. These are 2 teams I don't want no part of either team. Snell is an overlay. For as good as he pitched last month, he's still an overlay because, just as Ben said, he's not going deep into games. They're babying his arm from all the injury that he's had in the past. But if you're only getting he only got 5 innings in his last time, and 5 max 6 innings, that's 3 full innings. That's a third of the game left for these bullpens. And you know how much we love these bullpens, don't you? Yeah. Padres stink. Arizona stinks even more, but still gets the pitching edge. The line is right to me. Unless there's some big line move or a lineup change, we'll be off this game.
And we have Rockies at LA. This is the one John told you at the top that we are going to be on Colorado today. Gomber versus Lynn. Yesterday's matchup, pitching duel ends up being 2-1 win for the Dodgers. Have now won 5 of 6 meetings this year. Rockies team been pretty good on this trip so far. We'll see if they can carry it over here, 3 or 4 on the trip. Gomber, though, just been terrific since the back end of June. 5-1, 2.63 ERA, coming off 3 straight quality starts. Last time out, 6 shutout innings versus St. Louis. And Lynn, he's actually been pretty good so far for the Dodgers. 2 starts, 2 quality starts, 4 runs in 13 innings. That Dodgers pitching staff and the pitcher-friendly ballpark, all of it, you take a vet like that, it seems to be benefiting them well so far. Gomber gets the pitching edge. He's just been on an absolute tear right now. This is a massive, massive price here. I get it. Dodgers own the matchup a little bit. They've been cruising down the stretch here. They're starting to get to this point, though, with all these NOS teams struggling. Their lead's getting a little bit comfortable. Wouldn't be surprised if this is one they drop. Just way too big of a number here for how good Gomber's been. Colorado all the way.
Exactly. Red hot Dodgers, but all of a sudden the bat's cooling off just a little bit. Just scored 2 runs in each of the last 2 games. They were struggling last night. Muncy did all the damage. Now you got Gomber who comes in. He's a lefty. Dodgers struggle a little bit against lefties also, just batting .239. J.D. Martinez, one of their big right-handed bats, he's been out the last few games. He will definitely miss at least one more game. He's out tonight. 260, just worth the 1-unit bet. We got the Rockies. They've been playing decent enough without the Dodgers putting up monster numbers as they were a few days ago. Plus 260 is worth it.
Then we have the Guardians at Tampa Bay. Cleveland, they split the 4-game set with Toronto. Don't know how they pull out a couple of games there, scoring 1.5 runs per game. Bats aren't doing nothing. 3-7 their last 10. And then the Rays dropped 2 or 3 to St. Louis. Like we talked about at the beginning, just tough games to lose there. If you have any chance of coming up and trying to catch Baltimore in the East, you need those wins. The Guardians had success in the matchup last year. They won 4 of 6 meetings. And just when you think the Twins are running away with the division, they start to get a lead. They drop 3 straight to Detroit, and next thing you know, it's 3.5 again. So Guardians still in the hunt. It's Curry versus Savall. Savall first start with the Rays, gave up 3 runs across 4 1/3. Now he has to face a team who's just traded by. Obviously, they're going to have a pretty good scouting report on him. And Curry coming off a decent outing, 2 runs in 5 innings. Savall still gets the pitching edge, but a little bit less just of an edge going against the team that traded him. Like I mentioned, good scouting report there. Series means a lot to Cleveland. Right back in the hunt. They still have 6 games left against the Twins. If you can find a way to take 2 of 3 here against Tampa Bay, edge yourself up a little bit more there. Going to be interesting. This is Guardians or nothing. Tampa Bay, just when we think they're turning around, not doing it.
If we were looking at this game before each team played their last series, before Tampa Bay played St. Louis and Cleveland was playing at home, who the hell is
Toronto.
Toronto, you'd figure, okay, Tampa Bay was turning the corner, just came back from a 6-3 road trip. Cleveland was dead, but Cleveland puts up a fight against a Toronto team that was looking pretty good. Tampa Bay, look, I just think the clubhouse has been deflated. They got the news McClanahan's done for the season. You've already got Rasmussen out at the beginning of the year. Glass now missed his last start. They're in trouble. They know it. I think they just feel deflated. Remember, this team got off to one of the greatest starts in baseball history. At one point, we're on a pace at home to win the most home games ever in baseball. They are now 3rd best home record. Shows you the kind of slide that they're on. I could see that continue to slide. Savali had a great. He pitched great. His last few startings with Cleveland, had a decent outing. It didn't last long. He's a decent pitcher. Give him the pitching edge in this one for sure. But you got to realize Cleveland knows him. They know everything about him. The number is too high. The only thing we keep waiting for, when are they going to hand down the Ramirez?
Yep.
Will it come for this weekend and he missed these 3 games? So this number's a little high. If Ramirez is out, that nullifies that. But it would be Cleveland and nobody in this one. Again, now it looks like Cleveland wants to win again after being a seller at the deadline, after looking like they were a dead team, still looking like a dead team, just getting great pitching. But you pull Ramirez out of that lineup that's only averaging 1.5 runs per game with him. There's no way you could bet them. But I think Tampa Bay's they got bigger problems. This team that was up here coasting, they thought, to a World Series, they just lost all their pitching staff, and they've been in a funk now for a couple of months, except for that one little streak, 6-3 on the road with the Yankees, Astros, and I forget the third team. But wouldn't want it. No way do I want the Rays, Guardians or nobody, if Ramirez is in and if that line continues to go a little higher.
Then we got Tigers at Boston. Tigers, they win the last 3 against Minnesota, scoring 6 runs per game. They're hitting 290 this week. They're heating back up. Red Sox, they had their little skid, and then they get Kansas City. They won 3 or 4 against the Royals to get them back on track a little bit. Red Sox have won 8 straight meetings against Detroit. A little bit of ownership here. Skewball versus Sale. Red Sox 4 games out in the wild card, getting Chris Sale for, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 starts here down the stretch of the season. Can he give them any help here? We'll see. He had the shoulder issue. Was really good in his rehab start. 6.1 shutout innings, 10 Ks, 2 walks. See if there's any carryover there. And Skewball's been really good at home. He's only had a handful of starts this year. Really good at home. Brutal on the road so far. Last time out was a good start at home against the Rays. Before that, roughed up at Miami. And last year, smoked at Boston for 6 runs. Pitching edge going to go ever so slightly to Sale. I'm still going to give it to him over Skewball, but you guys know how we feel about these guys coming off the IL. And his situation a lot different than Kershaw, just because he's had, 5-6 IL stints, hasn't had a stretch of pitching for longer than 2 months at a time. Would be a lean here to Detroit, though. Coming into the series playing hot. The ownership for Boston's will make this a little bit tough. And then you look at Skewball having bad success on the road, bad success at Boston. Makes it tough to pull the trigger. Still, though, Detroit or nobody.
Look, lefties in general for years have had problems at Fenway Park. That's just the nature of the beast. But I still got to give Skewball the edge here. Don't expect Sale to throw more than 4 innings. If they've got him penciled in for about 4 innings, they will be extra careful with him because of the long history of arm ailments. Skewball's been looking nice. He's lights out at home. Can he bring that on the road now? We'll see. This is a tough team to do it against. They hit lefties well. They have the highest batting average at home, highest home batting average. They're 5th as far as scoring runs at home. So this is a tough place to do it at. But again, like I said, Sale, his first game back, is only going to go 4 innings. The Red Sox have been having bullpen games before. That staff is a little bit depleted. They did get a couple of wins against the Kansas City Royal team, worst road team in baseball. Don't know what that's saying. Can Detroit carry over their success? The Sharps think they can. They have buried the Tigers on this game. This game opened 165 on the overnight. You're looking at down as low as minus 135 right now. So the Sharps all over Detroit. It was Detroit and nobody. This number now is beat up. I can't bet it at this number.
Then we have Angels at Houston. Angels snapped a 7-game losing streak with a pair of wins.
Sorry, I have one more thing I wanted to throw in, guys. I apologize. Justin Turner's missed the last few games, and that's another righty bat that you'd want to have in the lineup against Skewball. So he's questionable today. But again, the Sharps are all over the Tigers.
Angels win those last 2 games at San Francisco or against San Francisco, snap 7-game skid. And then you have this Houston team playing good ball right now, 7-3 their last 10, winning 2 of 3 at Baltimore. Astros have a lot of success in this matchup. 7 of 10 meetings this year they've won, and massive pitching mismatch. Detmers versus Verlander. Detmers' last 5 starts, 0-3, 8.61. 2 starts versus Stros this year, 8 runs in 11 innings. And Verlander's just been a stud since June 26th, 4-2, 1.64 ERA. Don't know how he's doing it at this age. Starting to look back into the Cy Young pitcher from last year. 1 start versus Angels last year, give up 1 run in 5 innings, and terrific at home this season and last season, even though this season was New York. This is a tough game. I mean, Angels, they were really dead in the water there. Win a couple of games. I mean, this road trip's really going to signify what they have anything left in the tank. 3 at Houston, 3 at Texas. They really want to get off on the right foot. I just don't think it matters. The pitching mismatch is too massive there to overcome. Hot versus cold. Big price on this game would be a slightest of leans here to Houston for me, but not going to be laying this number.
Another one, they're all over the dog here. Crushed it. Overnight line was 200. To me, that was high. Just not high enough to pull the trigger on Detmers, who's been horrible against Verlander, who's been basically lights out. Houston turning the corner. They're on their way to be challenging the Rangers. Angels won a couple of games at home after a 7-game losing streak. But this game, like I said, now down to 165 from 200. Sharps all over Detmers. This number is too low. If it was to continue to go lower, I would be favoring Houston. Not looking to bet this one, but cannot see why they're on Detmers in what's I'm going to call not an edge, not an advantage. Pitching mismatch. Verlander over Detmers. Detmers been horrible lately. Bad numbers against the Stros. Verlander looking great. Don't know how he's doing it.
Yeah.
They want to check him for some PEDs, but he's getting the job done right now. Can't bet against Verlander and the Astros right now.
And it's Orioles at Seattle. Orioles coming off losing 2 of 3 against Houston, still 8-3 their last 11, and the best road team in baseball, playing good ball. Seattle playing great ball right now. They come in now winning 7 straight, 12-2 their last 14. Absolutely red hot. Gibson versus Castillo. Gibson's pitching his best ball so far this season. 4 straight quality starts. We'll see if he can carry that over here on the trip. Last time out versus the Mets, 3 runs in 7 innings. Did get roughed up by Seattle back in June. And Castillo hammered his last time out by the Angels, 7 runs off 10 hits. Prior to that, 3 straight quality starts. He still gets the pitching edge in here. He's been good at home this season, sub-3 ERA. Great matchup. I can only look at the dog here with the best road team in baseball, the best team in the American League. Seattle, though, 1.5 games out of the wild card now. They've been really jumping up in there. This is a really big series for them. Could be an AL Division Series matchup. Road dog or nothing. Not jumping out of my seat to go against Castillo and the Hot Mariners, though.
Road dog or nothing. We've been saying this. Look, they just give us the Orioles. They make us bet the Orioles. They've got the best record in the AL. They've got the best road record, tied for the best road record in baseball. And you just keep making us dogs and you're forcing us to them. Little tougher today. Mariners red hot. They were off yesterday. They stay in Seattle. Baltimore cross-country trip. Coming off a tough series against the Astros. Their closer, Bautista, couple of rough outings. Takes him another 24 pitches to get the job done yesterday. Thank God he got that job done. That would have been another tough L. So a tough spot for them. But again, the numbers suggest how could you not like to shorten this one? So there are circumstances. We'll wait to see where the line goes. Want to see if we can get word if Bautista is available. This might just be a good spot to sit him. Being that he salvaged the save yesterday, 24 pitches, he might not even be available. We'll try to get some of that information. Are the Orioles giving anybody an off day after the long flight out there? Get them ready for the rest of the weekend. So we'll see. But it's Orioles and nobody. I'm not laying Castillo. Castillo smashed his last time out. Gibson, while not great, solid. Last 4 starts, 3.24 ERA. Do that, you'll get the job done. Orioles and nobody. Just give this team some. They're the Rodney Dangerfield of baseball. No respect.
Then we have Yankees at Miami. Yankees still waiting for a pitcher to officially be confirmed in the box there. It's going to be Luzardo for the Marlins. He's been wrecked his last 2 starts, 8 runs, 13 hits in 10 innings. Been great at home so far this season, though. 4-2, 2.64 ERA. 2 teams dead in the water, really. I mean, Miami's still very much so in the wild card race, just been playing absolutely horrible baseball. Maybe they heat up a little bit after winning a couple of games against the Reds. Yanks, they lose 3 of 4 there against Chicago. 3-10, their last 13 road games, not getting it done on the road. Record-wise, I mean, these teams very similar. Yanks 59-56, Marlins 60-56. Obviously, the AL just a bit more competitive there. This is Marlins or nobody. You got a favorite price here. Not looking at a delay of 140, 150 with Luzardo, especially the way he's been going. But Yankees just been that brutal on the road, and Miami really needs this series as far as wild card. Got to be looking at the Yankees here, licking your chops a little bit if you're Miami to get back on track. Slightly into the Marlins, also looking at the under a bit in this matchup. Yankees just not getting done with the bats on the road.
Yeah, right. Yankees not getting it done anywhere with their bats, but they just not winning on the road. Haven't been all year, and the opposite's true for the Marlins. Marlins 10 games over 500 at home, not having success on the road. So they're better at home. Yanks worse on the road. Marlins showed life. Down in both games that we lost against the Reds. Down 2-1, they come back to win 3-2. Down 4-1, come back to win that 5-4. Shows me life. They'll go back home with a little momentum. Need to see who the Yankees are going to pitch, what that line comes up. not crazy about Luzardo, especially his last couple of starts. So we'll see where the lines are at a little bit later.
Twins at Phillies. Keep talking about this Twins team since the break. Super streaky. Now on a losing skid. Dropped 3 straight since the 5-game win streak. See if they can carry it over here to Philly, get anything going. Phillies, they've now won 5 of 6, scoring 7 runs per game, hitting almost 290 this week. Bats getting going. Keuchel versus Sanchez. Really a weird read on Keuchel. Debut was okay. 1 run, gave up 8 hits, though, in 5 innings against an ice-cold D-backs team. So not sure if that's saying much there. Still gave up 8 hits to them. He was miserable on the road last season, had a 13 ERA. And Sanchez, last time out, he was smoked for 6 runs. He's been decent this season. He's been worse at home. Philly's red hot. You have this Minnesota team now starting to get ice cold a little bit. They really need this matchup to get some wins here. Both teams do a little bit. Philly's going to start to head into this kind of a gray area soon because they have a biggest lead in the wild card of any of the teams, AL or NL wild card. And then they can't catch the Braves. They're 9.5 games out of Atlanta. So they're going to start to get into this little gray area in between. We'll see how competitive they become down the stretch. Lean here to Minnesota. Still a division-leading team. Just can't get behind Keuchel on the road. I need to see what he looks like against a real offense.
Well, I'm hoping for a cheap number here because to me, this is Philly and nobody. What Keuchel walked through raindrops his first start out. This guy was destroyed last year. Expect more of the same. Philly bats starting to heat up. Now, he's a lefty. Harper left the game last night. So I'm calling him doubtful, not only for that, but you're going to pitch against a lefty pitching Keuchel. He'll probably sit. So maybe with that, again, Harper name recognition, because he's just not has the power anymore, especially against lefties. So if he's out of the lineup, does that bring the line a little bit down? Sanchez had a bad outing his last time out. Does that bring the line a little bit down? Keuchel, he had a bad outing. You give up 10 hits in only 5 innings. You didn't do your job. You just got lucky. Arizona couldn't fucking score anybody. So the pitching edge goes to Philly. Minnie all of a sudden dropped. Minnie goes to Detroit to open up their lead on Cleveland while Cleveland plays another wild card playoff team, Toronto. They lose a couple of games going there. So they're in a little bit of a funk. Here now they got to bring up Keuchel. They had a pitching staff that was as good as anybody early in the year. Ryan getting crushed. Gray not as good as he was earlier in the year. Ober little kinks in his armor. All of a sudden, Ryan's getting destroyed. They got to bring Keuchel back up. So this to me is Phillies and nobody. If there's a right line, we'll see what the number's at. Like I said, Harper probably not going to play after leaving yesterday's game. Philly does have that big lead. But I think the Twins right now, I think they're struggling a little bit. I wouldn't want them as a dog.
And we have 2 of the worst teams in baseball here. A's at Washington. Oakland, worst road team in baseball, 15-41. Nats, worst home team in the NL, 22-34. A's are playing decent ball right now. They went 3-2 on that homestand, but obviously, like I said, just worst team in road in baseball. And Washington, they dropped 3 of 4 against Philly. Prior to that, playing good ball. Blackburn versus Don Blackburn. He was really good last year, had the injury, came back this year. We really hadn't seen that version of him too much. Last 3 starts, 1-0, 1.56, 1-3, coming off 6 shutout innings versus San Francisco. And Adon just had 2 relief outings, makes his first start, comes up with a quality start for Cincinnati. Lean to Oakland here. I mean, Blackburn's just been that guy recently. If he can get back to being, he had ace-level stuff last season. He's starting to look like he might have that a little bit. And we're seeing that with Singer as well with Kansas City. Another guy struggling this year. Back end of last season got really hot. A couple of guys on these bottom-end teams might see some value in. A's are nobody here for me. I've been looking Blackburn.
Yeah, here's another case. Doan last year, I believe it was 1-12 with a 7 ERA. So he had a couple of relief outings, come up with a gem. 3 runs over 6 innings, 7 Ks, no walks in the win at Cincinnati. I think he pitched above what he is. Because if you see Cincinnati all of a sudden, they were red hot hitting. They're not hitting as well lately. Blackburn definitely the pitching edge here. 1.56 ERA last 3 starts. Can the A's get it on the road? These are the tough games. This is what you got 2 teams here, just nothing to play for. Who's going to get up for the game? Right now, you get 2 pitchers that look like they're going after it. Don coming off a good game for him. Blackburn trying to get back to where he was. Lean has got to go to Oakland. Again, let's see who's in the lineups for the Nats and where this line goes. Right now at -110. I mean, that to me, that's the right number. That's what the line should be. So So if it stays like this, there's no bet for me.
And Cubs at Toronto, a couple of teams in wild card races. Cubbies right now 2.5 out of the NL wild card. Toronto in that third spot, 1.5 game up on a red hot Seattle team in the wild card. It's Cubbies. They were red hot, dropped 2 of 3 against the Mets. The bats have fallen off a little bit, scoring 2.67 runs per game then. Still the hottest team since the All-Star break. We'll see if they get back on track. And Toronto split 4 games there against Cleveland, 5-2 their last 7. Assad versus Barrios. Barrios been very solid, 3 runs and 5 2/3 last time out. Was really good in July, 1.84 ERA. And Assad, he's only made a handful of starts this year. In his second start, he went 2 runs and 3 2/3, and 1 start versus the Jays last year, 5 shutout innings. Barrios gets the pitching edge. Their bats went ice cold as well against Cleveland. So this could maybe be a little bit of an underlook if Cubbies stay cold here with the bats. Barrios keeps going. You guys know in that Cleveland-Toronto series, I was on a bunch of unders. We'll be looking to get at the under here. Want to bet the Cubs. I want to say they're going to turn things back around. Just don't know if they are. I know before, the midst of that hot streak, we talked about, did they just get hot at the wrong time, get hot right before the deadline, and end up not selling? We'll see how cold they end up getting here now that they're due for some regression. Cubs are nothing, but staying away, lean a bit more to the total.
Look, Cubs went into Citi Field. That's a pitcher's ballpark. Not great pitching from the Mets, and they only scored 2.67 runs, but it is a pitcher's ballpark. Let's see if they can get back to where they was unrealistic. They were absolutely crushing the ball. Toronto not hitting at all. That series with Cleveland, what a joke that was. Somebody hit a 3-pointer, you won the game. So now you got Barrios, who's going to get more than a pitching edge. This is a pitching advantage, a big pitching advantage. Assad, they're just making the transition. He'll take Smiley's spot in the rotation now. They're sending Smiley to the bullpen. He lasted 3 2/3 innings last time. That was against the Braves. How much could you get him out to today? Maybe you stretch him to 5, but that's tops. So you got to give the edge to Toronto as far as that. But they're just not hitting. Here's another game. The Sharps have buried the Cubs. This game opened 165 on the overnight. We're looking right now 147, 148. So not as big a move as the other games, but just big enough. I don't see the attraction in Assad at plus 150 or better, maybe a little bit, but this is still you're giving up a big pitching advantage with a Cub team that's not on fire anymore. I get Toronto's not hitting. They've got some injuries. Bichette, Kayamaya, both on the injured list. So that's part of the reason that they're not hitting. But Assad, and then you're going to go into the bullpen. This is a tough one. If the number is right now, it's a solid game. Another game that, unless there's a big injury or somebody sitting out of a lineup, we'll probably sit off this one.
And we have Brewers at White Sox. Brewers coming off series of Colorado, win 2 of 3 there, but they're just 5-5 their last 10, and it's against 3 of the worst 4 teams in the NL: Pirates, Colorado, and Washington. They go 5-5 in that stretch. White Sox, meanwhile, they've now won 4 of 5, beat up on the Yankees, scoring over 5 a game. Burns versus Kopech. I mean, Burns has a clear as day pitching mismatch. 7 straight quality starts, 4-2, 2.00 ERA. Had a quality start versus Sox last year. And Kopech, last 2 starts, 5 runs and 10 1/3. The second in MLB behind Snell as far as walks. Has given up a lot of those last 2 starts. 5 Ks, 9 walks, just brutal there. Still looking at White Sox here in this spot. Yes, Burns, absolute pitching mismatch. Maybe the biggest pitching mismatch on the card. With the exception of Verlander and Detmers. Just tough to back this Brewers team. Road favorite. Can't lay this big price. White Sox playing decent ball right now. Any other pitcher here from Milwaukee, I'm looking at with the White Sox all the way. Question is, do you want to go against Burns? So lean here to the White Sox. Need this number to go a bit higher if it's going to convince me to go against Burns.
Well, what's happened in this game's actually ticked up a little bit. It went up from 160 to around 170 in some spots now. So Robert, who leads the White Sox, 31 homers, 65 RBIs, he left Wednesday's game against the Yankees. He's a question mark. He's their offense. I mean, right in the middle of that offense. You'd need him if you even want to think about going against Burns. If Robert's out, this is the right number. No question about it. Might even tick a little bit higher. Milwaukee needs W's. White Sox, are they turning it on now when they're officially out of it? They've won 4 or 5. I always like to be on a home dog. Just don't want to buck Burns with Kopech. He's walking everybody in sight right now. I'll stay off this game, especially if there's no Robert, unless it goes much higher.
Yeah, sometimes with a team like this, with the White Sox too, they're the biggest sellers at the deadline. So leading up to that and that whole week of the deadline, the whole team's all, am I gone? Am I gone? Am I gone? And now, these guys know, okay, I don't have to move my family this week. We're good to go. Just play ball. So maybe there's something a little bit with that. We'll see though how that matchup ends up going. And it's Cardinals at KC. Horrible pitching matchup. Wainwright versus Coleman. Wainwright just brutal. Since return from the IL, 0-2, 8.36. Gave up 7 runs his last time out versus Colorado in 3 innings. Did have a good start versus KC last year. He was just a different pitcher last season. And Coleman, he's an opener. It's going to be Serpa following. Neither going to be too attractive there. This is home dog or nothing with KC in my eyes. Yes, Cardinals go and show some life. They take 2 of 3 against Tampa Bay. Either way, just can't back Waino. 2 wins away from 200. He's been that way since early June. Hasn't been able to get close to that. And I don't know if he's going to be able to get it. This is a chance here against Kansas City. So if you want to bet something in that angle, maybe there's that. Either way here, Royals and nothing. Can't back Waino.
Tough to watch a good pitcher, a great pitcher, borderline great pitcher, end his career like this. His career should have ended with Yachty's last year. They should have went out together.
Yep.
And it didn't. So he stuck around. He's absolutely getting bashed. Only thing is KC's got just as bad at pitching going for them today. So Coleman will be just used as an opener. This will be his first career start after 90 relief appearances, 17 this year. He'll be the opener, and then Zerpa will come in. He'll be what they're calling the bulk reliever. He's had 3 outings so far this year. 6.75 ERA for Zerpa, a 10.05 for Coleman. So a terrible pitching mismatch, a terrible pitching matchup. 2 terrible teams. Both showed a little life recently. KC they played well against Philly. They went to Boston, gave Boston a couple of tough games. They got turned around with that one bad call, wind up losing the last few. St. Louis winning a couple of games, showing some life at Tampa Bay. But just a tough game. I think the line is right where it's supposed to be. Again, 2 teams. Who's going to get up for this one? Yep. Do they get up for Waino? Do they try to get him 200? Do they sit on their laurels after winning a couple at Tampa Bay? Tough one to figure out. I got no real feel for this one, so I'll pass.
And then last game on the card, we have Rangers at San Francisco. A little bit of interesting history here. Bruce Bochy, manager of Texas, going back to San Fran for the first time. Was there for 13 years, won 3 World Series. One of those World Series back in 2010, actually against Texas. So probably going to be a little ceremony there or something. Obviously, this has a little bit extra meaning to him. Texas win 8 straight, then they lose the last one against Oakland. San Francisco dropped 4 or 5. They dropped the last 2 there against the Angels, 2 against Oakland. A couple other AL West teams. Now they got to face the top AL West team. So Rangers are nothing here as far as I'm seeing. You got a little personal, factor there for the manager. Sure, the team wants to get up for that. Gray on the mound. He's been horrible, but I'm still going to give him a slight edge here, perhaps, over this Giants bullpen game. Last couple of starts, 11 runs, 9 earned, and 10 1/3. Just brutal. 4 starts versus the Giants back in 21 at a 5+ ERA. And Alexander's going to be the opener, possibly Stripling to follow. Stripling's been brutal at home this year, almost a 7 ERA there. Looking at a pick'em game, ignore the pitching matchup here. I'm just looking at the teams, the offenses, hot versus cold. This is Texas, one of the best teams in baseball at a cheap price, with manager having a little extra something to want to win this game.
Definitely a cheap price with one of the best teams in baseball, one of the best hitting teams in baseball. But Gray has been pitiful. 1-3, 6.30 ERA. We've chronicled his story many times. June 18th, throws a complete game against the Cardinals, develops a blister, misses his next start, just hasn't been the same since. Still give him the pitching edge over a San Fran bullpen game. Rangers were rolling. They come up with a blank. They come up empty. Now let's just put in everybody's head what's going on with Texas. So the catcher Heim has been out. Jung goes out. And all of a sudden they sit Seager the last game. He's been having some issues with the wrist. He sat out the last game. Got to make sure you got Seager in there before you even think about betting Texas. Again, once you got a couple of guys out, then you start taking another guy out of the lineup that becomes even. That guy comes back that much bigger, especially if it's a guy like Seager batting close to 350. So we'll wait for lineups. It's a pick'em game now. This line has actually moved down a little bit. Texas opened as a -114 favorite on the overnight. You're looking at a pick'em game. If Seager's in, San Fran becomes a favorite in my eyes. You're talking about taking just too many bats out of Texas lineup. Gray's been pitiful. San Fran, it ain't their first rodeo with these bullpen games. This will be the 6th time Alexander's being used. He did get crushed by the Angels his last time out, giving up 3 runs without registering out against the Angels. They must feel confident if they're coming back to him. But let's see what the lineups look like. If Seager's in, I think this is the right price. I would be off this one.
That's the Friday card, guys. Still some pitchers yet to be announced. Still a lot of question marks in the lineups. I'm just talking about there with Texas. Different ones across the board. Houston has some guys questionable. White Sox have Robert questionable. You guys want all that information throughout the day and throughout the weekends. We are not here on Saturdays and Sundays. Go to howtobeatthebookie.com or download the How to Beat the Bookie app. John, a little weird week here. We started off red hot Sunday, Monday. Had some gross losses midweek. Get back with the winner yesterday. And heading into the weekend, looking to end in the green here.
Yeah, we'll look today. So far right now, only the Colorado Rocky bet. There's a couple more that we're on the edge with, and that depends how the lines move. We'll see. We'll look to finish this weekend strong, and we just keep shrugging along.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys like, follow, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Help us grow this thing, and let's make some money, John.
Make some money.